Welcome to the land of Penistra, a land ripe with abundance of food and living space, and with a brand new fledgling republic that seems to be forming and growing stronger by the day. Today, we'll be going over the three prime gods of this land. The first god we'll be going over today, sadly, does not have much knowledge known about them, due to the secretive nature the lizard folk keep around their god. But what we do know is its few titles and its basic habits. The god itself goes by many titles, some being known as the Ancient Stalwart, the Swamp Defender, the Unyielding Eye. It is most commonly known as the Great Hiss. The Great Hiss is commonly misconceptioned as a giant tree that sits in the center of the Great Swamp. But we believe this tree is not the god itself, but merely a temple or an avatar of the ancient being. From what we were able to gather, it seems the god itself is an ancient serpent, either primordial or spectral in nature. Sadly, one of the few tales we do have about the Great Hiss comes from Elven writings. It seems to be a cautionary tale about waging war against the lizard folk. It speaks of an elven army in the year 125 BA marching through the swamps to conquer land, when a poisonous mist seems to roll into the army, wiping out the entirety of the army in mere seconds. Scholars are not sure if this story is true or simply a cautionary tale made to ward off would-be invaders to enter the swamps. The next pair of gods we'll be going over is known as the parental gods, Izana the mother and Uldar the father. They were both originally mortals, but they sacrificed their lives to provide for the land to help solve and cure a great drought and famine that had been plaguing the land of Penistra. Izana and Uldar's story begins in the central plains of the land of Penistra. They would roam these lands, helping individuals with any problems they would have. They were both known as wandering wizards, or wandering scholars by many. Eventually, they built a little bit of a crowd of fledgling spellcasters, wizards, and druids that wished to learn from them. Eventually, Uldar decided that they should settle and make a proper college. They decided on a hill in the center of the Great Plains. Even though the starts were very humble and small at first, within 5 years they had built a great wizard college that employed over 12 teachers and over 200 students. As part of the curriculum, Izana and Uldar would make their students wander out into the world and help individuals solve their problems for free. This helped the school gain a reputation of problem solvers and helpers, but it also taught moral values to their students to keep them from drifting into darkness. Sadly, the good times did not last, as in the year 50 BA, a great drought and famine spread across the land, killing all vegetation and crops across the entirety of the land of Penistra, except for the small bit of vegetation that survived in the coremost of the great swamp. Izana and Uldar would mobilize the entirety of their college to provide relief effort to those afflicted worse by this famine and drought. Sadly, their efforts were not enough to save everyone, but they were able to begin to plague back the issues these were causing. In doing so, Uldar and Izana tend to gain a small occult following by the peasant folk. The peasants would call Izana the mother of charity, and Uldar the father of diplomacy. It wasn't worship at first, it was just mere admiration, but it slowly evolved into more. In the year 25 BA, Izana and Uldar noticed a new power forming inside Izana. They were delighted at first, they thought Izana was finally pregnant. But alas, it was no pregnancy. It seemed to be some new weird almost divine-like power growing inside Izana. In the year 23 BA, Uldar seemed to have gained the same magical power that Izana had just previously gotten. They weren't fully sure what these powers were just yet, but they were hoping they could be used to stop the drought. In the year 10 BA, Izana's power fully sprouted into a seed of divinity inside of her. She was a fledgling god at the time, not quite full divinity, but also not quite fully mortal. In the year 8 BA, Uldar seemed to have followed in his wife's path, also fully forming a seed of divinity. In the year 1 BA, Izana discovered a way to end the drought, but it would cost her her mortal body. She decided to put this plan on the back burner in hopes of finding another way without costing her her life. In the year 0 BA, Izana, helping out in this small refugee camp that formed around the college, noticed a newborn baby girl dying of dehydration. Something inside Izana broke. She couldn't wait any longer, watch any more children die. She decided to go forward with the plan and hired mastered smiths from the dwarves and master runesmiths from the elves to forge a divine fountain. Uldar, of course, noticed his wife was having something forged, but he did not think much of it. He thought she was simply making another staff in hopes of creating a new spell to bring rain to the land once more. Izana had the divine fountain placed on top of the wizard college at the highest tower. She then began the ritual, destroying her mortal body to empower the fountain. As she was torn cell from cell, her seed of divinity fully blossomed due to her sacrifice, transforming her into a true god, the goddess of charity, the goddess of motherhood, and the goddess of healing, Izana the Mother. After her sacrifice was fully fulfilled, the fountain burst out with water, having 3 channels flow out of it, 1 channel leading to the south, 1 channel leading to the east, and 1 channel leading to the west. Uldar instantly noticed the wave of water falling from the tallest tower and thought his wife had figured it out. He simply ran to the tallest peak expecting to find his wife there. Sadly, the only thing he found were her robes and her staff. Uldar instantly, in a panicked daze, started sprinting around the wizard's college, searching every room he could think of for his wife, eventually leading to her study, where he found a signed letter from her. Sadly, the contents of the letter were lost to time, but it is known that Uldar broke down into an age of mourning for nearly 5 whole days. Uldar himself would have this written down. After his 5 days of mourning, his wife would appear to him in a spectral form. She would notify him that she had not died, she had merely ascended to godhood, and that he had the power to do so himself, but she did not want him to just throw away his life to ascend and come to her. She asked him if he would carry the burden to help the people in recovery. Uldar promised his wife he would fulfill her dreams and make sure this land was beautiful and cared for all. Over the next 5 years, Uldar would continue with relief efforts, helping set up farmlands, helping distribute food to those who were still hungry, and provide drinking water to those who lived far away from said rivers. In the year 5 AA, Uldar had a horrible nightmare. A nightmare watching the Kingdom of Mexicola, an outside nation, invade the entirety of the land of Peninsula to take over its rivers. At first, Uldar thought these were just nightmares, but they seemed to have become more of premonitions of what might be to come. As a mere days after he had these nightmares, a flagship of the Mexicola city states, would come and threaten one of the human port towns to allow them to move through, or they would be conquered. Uldar knew his times were limited, so he began work on digging canals from the deltas of the river back towards the Wizard's College. He had a plan that he was going to see done, and done correctly. In the year 6 AA, Uldar had finished all the canals running back towards the Wizard's College. Uldar would then go and grab his most trusted friend, Hilmar the Archdruid, and have him commission dwarves to make aqueducts that would run in the caves that lead under the Wizard's College. In the year 7 AA, Hilmar and the dwarves would have these aqueducts finished. In that time, Uldar had commissioned some smiths to make a divine cauldron. He was going to sacrifice himself to this cauldron to absorb the water, to reroute all rivers from emptying out into the ocean, instead emptying out into this cauldron, cutting off ocean access from the outside kingdoms, keeping the land more defended. Uldar would inform Hilmar of these plans. At first, Hilmar rejected these plans, stating that he was just doing it to return to his wife. Uldar did not argue this point. He stated, of course, he would love to see his wife again. But he also stated this is the fastest way he knows to protect the land. Hilmar would agree, and in the beginning of the year 7 AA, Uldar would perform his final rite, sacrificing himself into the great cauldron, surrounded by his closest friends and allies, and ascending into godhood, becoming Uldar, the Father, the god of diplomacy and trade. I would like to thank you, adventurers, to listening to this old scholar go over his life work. We hope to see you again when I explain the next gods and maybe some more information about the world itself. Until next time.